Today we're at the Canadian Museum of Immigration at Pier 21 in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the point of entry for 1 million immigrants between 1928 and 1971. We're here to speak with George Zwaagstra, an immigrant who came to Canada in 1951 at the age of 17 and who now volunteers at Pier 21 to give back to the country he's called home for so long. So you immigrated to Canada in 1951.
Yes, I did.
What exactly made you decide to come to Canada and not stay where you were? And you were in the Netherlands at the time, right?
Yeah, that's right. After the war, there wasn't much going on in the Netherlands and Europe as a whole. Rebuilding didn't start until around 1950. There was no material, there was nothing there. And a lot of people decided, well, why are we waiting? I mean, we have a family, we have to look after the family. So they started to immigrate. And it was actually the same thing with us. We didn't really have to go, but I had a brother that came to Canada in 1950. He liked it here, and he wrote me a letter on my birthday, which is the 9th of August, and he told me what he liked about Canada and so on. And he said, why don't you come here? And when you're getting your papers ready, why don't you try to persuade Mom and Dad to come to Canada as well, so that we are here as a family. So that's what I actually did. I started to get my papers ready, and one night I told them that I wasn't going to university, which is what they wanted me to do.
They expected you to go to university.
They expected me to go to university and become a minister. And I told them that night that I was going to Canada as well. So that didn't go over very well at first. However, a couple months later, I did come home. I started my papers, and they told me that you better sit down because we want to talk with you. So we sat down, and they said, well, your older brother is in Canada. You're getting your papers ready. Your younger brother has told us that as soon as he is 18, he is going as well. So we have decided we might as well go too, as a family.
I just wanted to get back to one part of your story. So you mentioned that your father or you were a part of the resistance during the war as well?
Yeah, my dad was with the resistance almost 3 or 4 years, I think. And he became an area leader of the resistance. And my brother, who was 3 years older than I was, he became a messenger boy for the resistance. Any of the messengers that had to go from my father to wherever they had to go. And then in late 43, I also became a messenger boy for the resistance. And the way they did it, or the way Dad did it, I'm not sure how that went, but I had 5 or 6 people that were given to me that I had to take the messages to.
Right.
And those were all people that I knew very well.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, 2 were my uncles, one was the lady that worked for us, and 2 other people that I knew as well. So they made sure that you didn't take any, as a little fella at a time, that you didn't take any messages to people that you didn't know. They had to make sure. And those messengers I never knew what they meant. There was
But you did
always some crazy little thing, tell so-and-so that the cat got killed or something like that, and then they knew what it meant, yeah.
So war ended, you decided, your brother had gone to Canada in what year?
1950.
50. So he left also at around the same age that you wanted to leave, no? Was he around that
I
age?
came in 51, he came in 50.
Right, and so he was how old when he came?
Well, he was born in 32.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So you decide to come to Canada. You tell your parents you're not going to university, you're going to come to Canada. Your parents decide they're going to join you. And your younger brother as well, all together?
We all came together, the four of us, yeah.
So what was it like for you to enter the port here, Pier 20? What was that?
I really don't know. To come off the oceans after we were on 6 days altogether, I believe. And after 6 days seeing land was actually fantastic.
Yeah.
And when you come towards Halifax, usually you see the horizon, and in the distance you see something there that looks like something sticking out of the ground. And that happened to be Sambro Lighthouse. Well, at that time I had no idea what Sambro Lighthouse was. However, there was land, and that's where we were going to. Mm-hmm. Then coming in to Halifax Harbor and coming towards the pier and seeing the sign there, welcome home to Canada. And then you think, wow, I left and I'm here. Now what?
Now what, exactly. Was it very welcoming for you here? Was it an easy process, or was it very difficult?
For us it was very, very easy because when we arrived, and I think it was around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, my brother was waiting for us already. We could see him from the ship. And he actually went on the ship, and as he was just about where we were, he was stopped because he wasn't allowed on, and he was yeah. So anyway, apparently they wanted to know what he was going to do, and he said, well, I'm meeting my parents here and so on. So what they did that night, we were told to get our luggage together, and we came off the ship that night. We were actually the only ones of that ship that stayed in Nova Scotia.
Everyone else went off.
The rest all went Ontario and west.
And you stayed in Nova Scotia because your brother was here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So then we went to Shubenacadie and we stayed there, and then that was Friday night. Saturday morning you wake up with 15 centimeters of fresh snow on the ground, and you're wondering, where have I ended up? Anyway, on Sunday afternoon, the immigration officer picked me up, and he took me to my sponsor that was on the farm as well, about 15 minutes from Shubenacadie, town of Stuyak, actually Stuyak East, and I came there, and there was a family, a husband, wife, and a boy and a girl. The girl was the oldest. That was strange.
Yeah. Where were your parents at this point? Did they also
In
go?
Shubenacadie.
So they stayed
in Shubenacadie.
And you alone went to this?
I went alone to the
You didn't stay, is there a reason why they broke up the family?
No, but they had to sponsor for me that
Okay.
where they were going. So, and I don't know why, because I wasn't quite 18 yet, and you weren't supposed to have a sponsor until you were 18. However, that's where they took me, and that's where I went, and
Did you work on
that was strange.
Very strange.
There was hardly a word spoken, and of course he woke me up on Monday morning. We did the chores, breakfast, not a word was spoken. The only person that actually spoke to me was the little fella, and he was only about 6 years old, I think, at the time. And I think because he found it funny the way I talked. I think that's why he.
How did you communicate? Was your English okay?
With English, I had English on the high school for 3 years, so I knew a lot of words. But you come to Canada and you speak, or you mention those words that you have been taught in high school, and they're English words, and they look at you as if you escaped from somewhere because it's so different. Anyway, that was 3 days that hardly a word was spoken. And so it was Wednesday, and they went out for groceries. And I decided, well, here is my chance. Packed my suitcase, and I'm going to take off.
So you have been in Canada for how many years now?
Since 51. So
and you left Halifax eventually, and you came back, or did you?
I was in the Air Force. Went to Ontario, and I stayed in Ottawa and different places in Ontario. Then we came back to Nova Scotia. I have actually been in Nova Scotia ever since.
Okay. So. And then when did you get involved with Pier 21? How did you start getting back in touch?
When we came back to Halifax, everybody was concerned about me. What is he going to do in Halifax? We have no problem with his wife, with Jerry. She'll be okay because she was a girl from Amsterdam, so she'll be okay in the city. But what is George going to do? Anyway, George had something in his head. And when we settled in Halifax, I went to the Pier and had my interview here, and they asked me right away, when can you start? So I said, this afternoon. Well, let's wait till Monday.
And you've been there ever since?
I've been here ever since.
So you volunteer here?
I volunteer here, and I've been here, 7 years, going on 8, I guess. And it is a fantastic place. It is unbelievable. I had the idea, well, we're finally retiring, and that's 8 years ago, so I want to do something to give something back while I still can. And I'm trying to give something back to Canada, to immigration, to Pier 21, but the things here are so amazing that it seems to be that I just can't give anything back. They always seem to give to me.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.